Most people treat arms like show muscles, something you train to look a certain way, not to really help you with anything. And this is why arm training gets dismissed so easily outside of bodybuilding. But if you grapple, clinch, or even carry awkward loads, you learn pretty fast that arms are not decorative. They are essential for load bearing. They're often the weakest link when force needs to be transferred or maintained. Without strong arms, your frames can collapse, grips will fail, and your elbows get overwhelmed. So I don't train arms to make them look impressive in isolation. I train them because the need for them shows up everywhere. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking arms are just biceps and triceps. It's not. It's elbow joint integrity, tendons that transmit force, ligaments that stabilize under rotation, and smaller stabilizers that never really get challenged through barbells. In grappling, your arms are often holding isometric tension while the rest of your body is moving. You're framing, you're posting, you're resisting rotation or collapse. That's not a curl problem, that's a tendon and neural endurance problem, which is why my arm training looks the way it does. This is why I use resistance bands almost exclusively. I don't train arms heavily with barbells or dumbbells, not because they don't work, but because they're not specific to what I need. Outside of simplicity, resistance bands give me constant tension through full range, easier joint positioning, lower joint costs at high fatigue, and ability to push close to failure safely. Bands also let me accumulate a lot of quality volume without beating up my elbows or joints. This volume matters when you're training tissues that adapt slower than muscle. How I actually train them. I keep it simple. I train arms a few times per week, at work or while I'm watching a show. The sessions rarely go past 15 minutes. I use band supersets, pushing each pairing close to failure. Not sloppy failure, controlled, high-effort reps. The goal is blood flow, tension, and neural connection, not max load. This creates a strong pump, but more importantly, it creates tissue adaptation where I actually need it. Why I mostly train one arm at a time. Almost everything I do is unilateral. One arm at a time, full attention to that side. This isn't about aesthetics, it's about mind-muscle connection and asymmetry cleanup. In grappling, one arm is usually doing more work than the other. You're posting, you're framing, you're fighting grips. Unilateral band work exposes weaknesses immediately. One side might fatigue sooner, one side loses tension earlier, and the other side might struggle to stabilize. That feedback matters, and bands amplify it because you can't rely on momentum. Neutral grip is the missing piece. This is where most arm training with bands falls short. Almost all resistance band work is done with palms up or full pronation with palms down. But neutral grip, palms facing each other, is rarely trained directly. That's the problem. Neutral grip positions load the brachialis heavily, demand more elbow stability, and they better reflect the natural positions your arms will find themselves in. Think about framing, pushing, pulling, or controlling someone's posture. Your arm is usually pretty neutral during each of these positions. Training this position with bands stretches the arms deeply, and it builds thickness. Your arms look wider from the front. In my experience, the best arm stretch and pump comes from neutral grip band work, especially under fatigue. What you actually get from this style of training. Let's be clear, you're not going to get 16-inch arms from this alone. That's not the goal. What you will get is defined, dense arms. Your arms are still noticeably big, and especially if you couple them with calisthenics and sandbags. You get stronger elbows and stronger shoulder tolerance, and your arms don't gas out when you need them. Your arms will stop being the limiting factor. They feel connected instead of fragile. And that matters more than the peak measurement. Why this carries over. This style of arm training works because it respects how arms are actually used. They transmit force, stabilize under load, and endure long bouts of tension. Bands let me train all three of these without wrecking my joints. When I grapple, frame, carry, hang, my arms don't feel like accessories. They feel like extension tools. In closing, your arms are not show muscles. They're support structures. If you train them like decorations, they'll fail when pressure shows up. If you train them like connective tissue and force transmitters, they hold. Resistance bands let me do that consistently, safely, and with intent. That's why I train arms the way I do. Let me know what your thoughts are if you've tried similar things, and as always, thanks for watching.